Hey, this is Witch's Hex, and I am here today with the side story for Gravity Rush 2, Raven's Choice. Now, this was released as a bit of DLC that added on to the Gravity Rush series, which is a series about a girl who has this cat that lets her change the direction of her personal gravity. I think that about sums it up. I think that's all we need to know about the story. Anyway, this one stars her rival slash best friend Raven, who can do the same thing with a bird friend. Now, Gravity Rush, unlike Gravity Rush 1, unlike the main story, this trades the kind of open world era for some mission-based stuff, which works pretty well for a speedrun. Anyway, so something that we're using right away that we're going to be using a lot is the stasis field. This will allow us to pick up nearby, items or whatever and just throw them at enemies. In most cases, it's the fastest way to just get damage done. We won't always have access to stuff, though. So it's hardly... And there's some, points when it's not going to be our best bet. But it is what we're going to use for a lot of scenarios, especially here during the tutorial. So the main mechanic of this game, we're about to see in a second, is that you can shift gravity. So, we're going to go fly up to where the game's going to tell us to fly up in a second. And then we're going to go point the camera where the game tells us to point the camera, before it actually tells us to point the camera somewhere. Just so that we can save a bit of time. And then we're going to barrel down. So mashing our attack button is actually the fastest way to move in the air. There is a button to speed up, but it's not as fast as doing this. Then we're going to grab some stuff, and we're going to throw it at some things in the sky. I need one more stuff. Okay, my stuff missed. That's fine, though. So for the tutorial, we're just kind of doing these small combat encounters and opening these collectors. Each one wants us to utilize a different combat gimmick, but joke's on them because we're going to utilize picking stuff up and throwing it. So those enemies, so the weak points on all the enemies are these little eye stalks. Some of them have rocks surrounding their eye stalks. Once you've broken off the rocks, which you can do just by normally attacking, they'll actually come off as things you can pick up and throw, which is going to be very important later on. Once again, we're just going to take off towards where we need to be before they tell us to go there. And here's another thing we're going to use for a lot of our combat, our super move. So we're actually going to get into a nice spot where we can see all the enemies because it's vision cone based. Then a second wave of enemies is going to spawn in, but there was also a crystal there that refills your special gauge, so we'll just take them both out like that. That's going to be our other main way to take care of this stuff. But, you need full special meter to do that. There's also something else you can do with the special meter, which will allow you to spawn your own projectiles, which will also take advantage of in some spots. Once again, we'll start taking off before the game tells us to save a little bit of time. Fun fact, they actually left, like, the entire open world from Cat's story, but too early to skip the cutscene. So they actually left that entire open world in there, but you can't really do much with a lot of it. Anyway, now we get to do some, you know, now we get to play a platforming game for a little while. So we're kind of in a realm of memories. We're playing as Raven as a child, and we cannot shift gravity or anything here. So we just kind of have to do, we kind of got to do without it for a little bit. So you see those orbs? Those orbs are Raven's memories, so she's got to pick them all up. Now, when I say those orbs are Raven's memories, and we got to pick them all up, what I actually mean is the cutscene that we skipped tells you that you need to pick them all up, but you don't need to pick any of them up. So I hope Raven likes not having memories, because I don't really want to pick those up. And that would cost time. Yeah, we're just going to stick with these. So these big glowing blue objects, we do actually have to go to. All of them kind of open up pathways to the next area. Except for that one, but that one's actually unskippable. I have tried to get around it. The best you can do is you can fall out off the cliff as you're triggering the cutscene. But that's not actually good enough because the cutscene will still play out to completion when you get back up. So you actually lose time for doing that. Not much, but you lose the amount of time it takes it to load in. So, not worth doing. Anyway, you may notice that the way I'm walking through this area is I'm kind of jumping and then running for a little bit. When you land from a jump, you get a little bit of a speed boost. So the fastest movement method is to jump, run for a second, jump, run for a second, jump, run for a second, etc. This actually is just how the mechanics in the game works. If you're playing as Adult Raven or Cat in the main game, this will still work. But, you know, why do that when you can shift gravity? That being said, for the rare segments in the main game, there aren't any others in this DLC that do that. It's worth using. So those things there, those are collectors. If they get too close to you, you'll get spawned back in. We might, depending on kind of what cycles we wind up with, we might actually wind up hitting some on purpose. We're not going to accidentally hit them at all. Hopefully. Hopefully we're not going to accidentally hit them at all. They're not too hard to dodge. They do move faster than you, but they also get bored of you really fast. So with this collector cycle, we're actually going to go up and hug that one. It's faster than waiting for it to turn around. Hi, friend. That, you don't actually have to land in the arms for it to count, by the way. If it does that grabbing animation, you're caught regardless of what happens. Anyway, this will cause them to just spawn in their default positions, which means that we'll get to just run up nice here. We might get spotted by that one. Yeah, we got spotted, but it's not going to be able to catch us in time. So off we go to our next warp. So yeah, we're getting little pieces of Raven's backstory here with her adopted brother. Raven's trying to basically a lot of plot that I cannot explain with 2 games worth of stuff, and it's not super important. But basically, Raven's got to get Raven's trying to recover this ark, which she was on as a kid, where basically a bunch of children fell down into, like, fell off the edge of the world and kind of landed in some land where they've just been abandoned, basically. You know, it was on a school field trip and everything, so... It's only children. The bus driver kind of ran off. The Ark is just a school bus. Sort of. It's complicated. You don't need to worry about that. You do need to worry about is these, like, sick running jumps. Alright, so we can run in a straight line with the right cycle. It doesn't look like we've gotten it. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't duck and weave through them. But once again, this will reset their positioning, letting me run through in a straight line. It's always faster to, It's always faster to... Like, it doesn't take very much time to reset their cycles. The save points in here are really generous. So, it's faster just to get caught in most cases. So here we get to platform cycles, and we're gonna see, there's two sets of these, and then we're done with this this walking cycle. This this kind of shiftless segment, we'll call it. It looks like for the first one we've gotten about an average cycle. Average cycle is okay. We didn't get here, like, just as this thing was leaving. Could be better, could be worse. It's only the difference of, like, a few seconds. Anyway, here we get to do the only skip in the run. Once Kid Raven gets a hold of this scary spoder. But anyway, yeah, you can just make that. You wouldn't think it skips like 2 of these segments with this, so it's pretty nice. If you get an absolute perfect cycle, which you pretty much can't, you would basically have to make some mistakes with running. But if you did, you could land on there with, you could land on there in time to jump to the next one. Unfortunately, you're kind of limited by the cycles of the previous thing, so you only have a limited, there's only a limited set of cycles you can experience here. Unless you, like... I almost fell off there. You don't want to do that. But yeah, there's only a very limited set of cycles you can get unless you make some Not even really bad mistakes, but really confusing mistakes. Because literally all you're doing is, in the time it would take to mess those up, would be, you know, going in a straight line, because it's literally between the two platform segments. Anyway, we're done with this. Now we get to do our little escort mission of the run, and basically, it's very controllable, but it's kind of easy to slip up. That being said, slipping up only loses you like maybe 15 seconds a pop. So it's not too big of a deal. So we got to escort Zaza until he reaches the Ark. Now, we're going to spawn some of our orbs, like... So basically, we want to get Zaza onto a platform, and then we want to get Zaza onto the next platform. Now, one thing is Zaza won't leave a platform if there's monsters on it for some bizarre reason, because you'd think he'd be scared and want to run away, but no, he's scared and runs to the corner of it. Anyway, it's too late to get Zaza on this one. You usually can't, but I just wanted to punch the monster to get a bit more experience so that I could spawn some more orbs. Or, not experience, special meter. To get Zaza, it's very tight, the cycle to get Zaza on that second one. Anyway, that one drops a full thing, so that's nice. Just gonna make absolute sure Zaza gets on this one. That was kind of close. Again, it wouldn't have been the biggest deal on the planet, but Zaza got caught. That's actually fine, because that's just gonna reset us to right here, and that's actually kind of lucky. Anyway, we'll get Zaza off there. This Zaza section is actually going great. So now the worry of, you know, timing Zaza is not so bad, because this big middle section will take care of those two. Then these two will spawn. We'll take care of them. This is actually a really good Zaza section. It might be my best one ever. I'm not sure. Only one mistake. Mistakes are kind of easy. And the one mistake is like the really easy, not that big one. Because this Zaza section is probably the hardest part of the run. Okay, it's not my best one ever, but it was a pretty good Zaza section. Anyway, now we get to play what what casually I would call Follow the Little Black Dot. In the run, this is no big deal, but it's a little frustrating casually. So basically, you need to chase down the main game's protagonist, Cat. And this cat will, you know, you gotta get to the destination. Now, you need to see Dusty in each spot before the destination, or it won't count. Now, there's no indicator showing you where Dusty is until you get close. And Dusty kind of blends in. Not a big deal in the speedrun. Because you know where to go. Slam into that sign and encounter Dusty. And this is actually the last time we see Dusty, which means that I don't actually need to follow Dusty, because Dusty doesn't matter anymore, because we just need to get to Cat. So we'll just walk over here. This cutscene will end either when Dusty gets here or when we do. So it's much faster for us to get here first. So, we have a little mini game here. Or mini game. It's not a mini game, but we have a little gimmick mechanic here that's pretty fun. Where basically, anytime you defeat a Nevi, which are these little enemies we've been encountering, it'll drop it'll basically spill out a bunch of light. The light will be flowing in the direction of where you need to go. But I know where to go. So something you may have noticed already is this this blue meter to the left of my health bar. This meter determines how long I can stay in the air. However, it refills faster than it takes me to fall a good distance. So, you know, in long segments like this, I can just rely on falling a lot. This game defines the but yeah, so yeah, we can really just fly through anything. So that was where the first one was. We need to encounter basically 2 NPCs for this segment. So we're going to the second one. Second one's a bit more hidden. Oops, I accidentally fell there. It's not a big deal. Okay, I've gotten a little disoriented. That can happen in this game. Just gonna break a Nevi. Lead me back where I need to go. Okay, I don't know how I got this lost. Okay, wait, right. Okay, weird. I guess it just didn't spawn for a second there. That's fine, though. I've never seen it, because I know I was over here. I'm pretty sure. I must have just made a mistake. It's alright, though. So, I like to call this part Kingdom Hearts. Basically, we need to convert the dark tiles to light tiles while defending the light tiles, and by defending the light tiles, I mean if we just take the dark tiles quickly, they won't have time to take the light tiles. So we're just going to go to all the dark tiles and ignore everything else. So basically every dark tile has one big enemy on it, and then a bunch of small ones. The small ones will try to move in to take the middle tile. So we can pretty much just ignore the small ones. We only really need to get the big ones. The only case we'll actually kill small ones in is if we wind up with things. Anyway, all of these enemies drop kind of big crystals. So we can just use these attacks and take them out quick. The one exception to that being there's one real tough enemy that you need to be careful with. Should be on this island right here. This one just has a lot of different weak spots, and some of them are pretty hard to hit. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this. Then we're going to throw the debris. No problem. We'll pick up the gem for full meter. We'll come here, pick up the gem for full meter. And it looks like there were a couple small ones on this one that still have yet to come off. So if they don't leave by the time I get back over here, we'll just take care. You respawned. I have never seen this respawn. Okay. Weird. Not a big deal, though. Goes down quick. I guess it's appropriate that the marathon submission video would have stuff occur in it that I've never seen before. Not a big deal. We're prepared for anything. Anyway, this boss, we just want to kind of... We just need to get over him. We're going to do some kicks, and we're going to unleash some super meters when we can. Even when he's blocking and we're not doing damage, we're still going to want to be delivering those kicks just to fill our meter. Because that's our big chunk of damage, is the super attacks. Now, this boss has a... will absorb the light panel if we leave him for too long. And enter a more powerful phase. Except for... The game actually lies to you here. It is impossible to prevent this more powerful phase on this boss. The game tells you you can do it, you can't do it. By the time you get over here, he'll just instantly absorb the panel. You can't take it fast enough. It is literally not possible. Unless someone finds some very specific tech. Anyway, his more powerful form isn't actually all that dangerous. He doesn't, like, increase his movement, and we can kind of just keep punching him. Until it wears off. And it doesn't increase his defense or anything, so... we'll just keep at it. You know, deliver some kicks until the blue meter disappears. Use a super attack when the red meter is full, which will happen once per cycle. Get whatever damage we can in with normal attacks, and repeat till dead. Doesn't take too long. If we're lucky, we can push him down to the floor, and we can keep chaining attacks when he's on the floor. It's a pretty minor difference, but... He actually knocked me out of my super there. No big. We'll just do that. All down. Pause too early there. So, you know how we just did this thing where we, like, turned the dark panels into light panels and then beat up the light guy? Well, now we're gonna... Well, now we're gonna turn the light panels into dark panels and beat up the dark girl. This one's a little harder because... and takes a little longer because it has 6 instead of... It has 6 things to take instead of 4. But it's still the same idea. One of the enemies actually doesn't drop a gem. So we need to be aware of that for the next one after. We'll also take any unused pieces, you know, we might as well grab. If we're still holding them, no reason to dispose of them. Especially with this enemy won't actually die in one. One thing we need to be careful of is to not accidentally leave. Anyway, we're not going to make it all the way, but remember how the blue meter works. It'll recharge in the air. It does cause us to drop our shards, with, you know, our little, like, pieces of rock, which is unfortunate. Not too big of a deal, though. Again, that's one of the small types. It'll just run off the edge eventually. These ones are kind of weird. There's two of them, two big enemies instead of one, and they... we won't be able to kill them in one, but what we can do is we can beat up one, beat up the other, grab some spare shards, and head off on our way. They won't give us a gem, but they do give us a lot of spare shards, so instead of using a gem, we can just pelt this one to death. Pick up the gem for the boss, and we're all good. That was a really good second segment. Sometimes the things can do some weird stuff. Nothing unrecoverable, but, you know, lose a few seconds here or there to a weird pattern. But none of that this time. Anyway, this boss is harder than the other one. She basically throws these discs at you. And more of the problem, though, is that she teleports. The discs, I mean, I will get hit by a lot of those discs, but it's not a big deal. I'm not going to run out of health or anything. Now, unlike the first boss, when she tries to absorb a darkness panel, we can actually stop it. And unlike the first boss, we really want to stop it. Now, it shouldn't be too hard to stop it, and unless we get some bad luck, we shouldn't see a second one. But yeah, when her super state makes 5 of her, and, you know, there's no way to tell which one's the real one except for destroying all the fake ones, and they pelt you from every single angle, so you can never accomplish anything. It's real bad if you get stuck with the super state out. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to prevent. Anyway, there we go. Now we get to do this cool segment. I really like these. So there's a mechanic that, unfortunately, I don't get to use enough, called the gravity slide. It should be the fastest movement method, but it's not faster than spamming attack while going. Anyway, it kind of glides you across the floor. You basically, you know, the explanation behind this is that we've rotated gravity, you know, very slightly off the ground so we can slide. Normally you need blue meter to do it, but for some reason this part of the game actually took away your blue meter, so you can just do it infinitely. It does keep giving you blue gems, which, you know, would prevent your meter from ever running out, but it literally doesn't have the meter. Like, it's not just not there for show. Anyway, these spikes will hurt you if you're in the wrong spot, but it's faster to go through them sometimes. You know, you want to be taking the fastest route possible. So we're gonna go off base a little bit sometimes. We're gonna miss some of those some of these things that disable the spikes in certain spots. This segment gives you more health than you need, so we can take advantage of that to make it a little faster. It's not like you lose time for hitting the spikes, you just lose health. Anyway, remember those two bosses we just fought? Surprise! They're back now for some reason. Anyway, do you know this game has motion controls? Loading screens. Not too long though. Anyway, here they are. The bosses are back, and before we fight them, we have to go pick up a bunch of our memories that have been strewn across the place for some reason. Gonna be honest, this is where I lose track of the plot. Anyway, we'll get around them once. They will never catch up to us again and bother us. It's honestly a little funny. Anyway, we're just gonna go around, pick up all the memories. Once again, this is one of those things. There's no, like, indicator of where the memories are, so casually this can be a bit frustrating, but I know where the memories are. So fun fact, you can also walk up walls and stuff. You know, you shift gravity on the wall. So I forgot to mention, but time is frozen, so and people who kind of get near you kind of just like fizzle out of existence for a second before popping back in. So that's why you see those little spark effects. Oof. So then there's the one on top of the big tower, and then from there we'll go get the last one. There it is. There's no power upgrades or anything in Raven's Choice, so, you know, you kind of just got your base set of moves. Anyway, there's our last memory. And that's all of them. So now we get to fight both bosses. And you would think I would have to take out both bosses, but that's not actually how this works. I only have to take out one boss. Additionally, I've got this new power form that allows me to, it's called Phoenix form, and it basically gives me this drastic power boost. So I'm going to have to be careful, because I don't want to be, unlike when I'm hitting the shield, I don't want to be hitting this. I want to hit this one as little as possible. Now, we will just teleport to enemies, which is pretty nice. We can also fly. Now, when you hit someone and it doesn't do any damage, it does still deplete the meter, because the meter is based on attacks. So we're going to kind of let him go free as much as possible. Unfortunately, his movement's a bit weird, so sometimes he'll be guarding anyway when he shouldn't be. Anyway, we're going after him because he doesn't teleport and we only need to kill one. Now, they will try to enter their super states together, but this time, instead of having to, like, take control, you just have to damage them. It's actually nice when they try, because they'll just stand still for you. Just something. So yeah, when we get near the floor, we can actually pick up some stuff. Ah. The targeting doesn't want to seem to lock on. Ooh, this is going to be rough. Yeah, unfortunately the targeting reticle seemed to break there. So we're going to have a rough time of the next few seconds. Now, fortunately, it's not that big of a deal because, again, we only have to deal with Lumino. And Lumino's super state doesn't really do much. We will have to deal with these discs flying at us every few seconds, but... no big. We should get another chance to enter Phoenix form in a second. This is not the smoothest fight, but again, nothing is unrecoverable. So yeah, now we can do this. A little rough, but that's okay. So here we come into the last part of the game. As soon as this loading screen ends. So we got to defend this arc. This is wave-based, not time-based, so it actually does matter how well we do here. We need to take out these things as fast as possible for, you know, the sake of getting through this as fast as possible. We want to be getting these blue gems from time to time because it's faster than falling down and having to come back up. They can move in kind of annoying patterns here. We'll spawn some blue orbs. Now, the blue meter doesn't actually deplete when we're standing still. Also, when we go down, we can pick some stuff up. So that can be useful. Alright, when they say they just keep coming, it's almost over. So we just got to take out a few more. And then they'll all, well, most of them will leave to go merge into this big one. So then we just got to take down the big one. So what we want to do here is we just want to keep hitting the big one until it lets us enter Phoenix form, and then we can really take it down. Make sure to pick that up so we don't just go falling down. So the game will let us enter Phoenix form once we've kind of done enough damage in general. So we just wail on it for a little bit. It'll save a little time. I mean, what we're doing here will not compare to the damage we do in Phoenix form. actually going to try to wedge our... Ah, it didn't work. There's a very precise trick you can do there where you wedge yourself up, but it's unreliable. Fortunately, failing it doesn't really do much. So remember, we're not actually trying to take these out. We are just trying to build up to Phoenix form. Alright, so that super was enough to do it. So now we can just kind of attack. Attacks will auto-target. If we can get back towards the big one. Alright, and that'll be that. So Raven turns out not to have the power to actually finish it off. So we need to team up with Cat, but Cat's frozen in time. So we're gonna have to lure this thing over there. Now what the game wants you to do here is to keep flying back in. To like kick it to lure it over, because it'll get bored of you and try to attack the Ark. But we can do better than that, because it only really... It doesn't, you know, check to make... It doesn't check to see how it's being damaged. It just checks to make sure it's being damaged. So if we throw a thing at it, if we pick up some stuff and throw something at it, it's just as good. Now the one thing to avoid is that we'd like to not really be getting hit, because that'll happen. So we'll get it to turn around now. Yeah, we had to go down because we got hit, but that's fine. So yeah, you break one box on this giant thing, and it's like... Stop everything, entire army, we're going to get this one person. Alright, so that should be good. We just need to go stand over near Cat now. And we're good. So now it's time for our final boss. A bunch of random little robots. Little anticlimactic, I'll admit. So we need to clear out the big ones so that we can do our big finishing move, or the little ones so we can do our big finishing move on the big one. Hello, frame rate. That'll happen when it does the big attack. Not really a way to avoid it or anything. There's only so much stuff around here, so we will have to resort to kicking eventually. But then we move a little bit. There's one more somewhere. There it is. Alright, so now we get to do our big finishing move. We're going to enter Phoenix form. And we're just going to angle the camera up. I got an achievement. Not even sure what that's for.
Should we?
Oops. Anyway. Now we get to chase this bus. Stop the bus! And we catch it, skip a cutscene, and it's time. So, if you might notice for this segment, I can't really do my normal movement tech. I can't attack, I can't hold the X button, which would zoom me closer. It's not as fast mashing attack. I can't gravity slide, I can't even cancel out of this if I wanted to. So all I can really do here is aim Raven. But that's okay, because we're gonna get that Ark. Bus, that's not the Ark. The bus isn't the Ark. We're gonna get our arc, the arc of our memories, because this is the memory plane, but it's, or the bus of the memories, but it's also the real bus. If you know what this story, what happens in this, please don't DM me. I do not care. Hey, sub 50. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this video, or if you're watching me do this live, I hope that you enjoyed watching me do this live. Yeah, everyone have a nice day.